Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily Dvar. And here's a brand new halacha for you. It's for Tuesday, the 17th day of January. Here we go. I'll follow up on yesterday's halacha, and it's this. If you made a hamotzi at the beginning of a meal, we all know that that hamotzi covers for all of the other brachos in the meal. So that when you eat your meat or your vegetables during that meal, they don't need any bracha because they're all considered like auxiliary to the bread, which is the main thing. Okay, that we did yesterday. But the dessert is where it gets really interesting. A lot of times when people eat, let's say, ice cream at the end of a meal, that ice cream is not really part of the meal per se. They're not really auxiliary to the bread. You really, by the time you get to the ice cream at the end of a meal, you're generally kind of full. You're not eating the ice cream because you still need more food in your belly. We all like sweet desserts like that because they're just kind of like it's going to sound weird, but they're fun at the end of a meal. They're not really filling you up. They're not really eaten for filling purposes. They're just like a nice cherry on top at the end of a meal. I hope you know what I mean by that, but that's how we feel about a lot of desserts. Because desserts are eaten that way, there are a lot of rabbis, there's a debate about it, but there's a lot of rabbis who believe that a lot of the desserts that we eat at the end of a bread meal should get their own bracha, because they're not being eaten as part of the bread meal. They're eaten as like a fun afterthought to the meal. It's just fun to put down some sweet ice cream at the end of a meal, and they're not part of the bread meal at all. So some rabbis would actually tell you to make a shahakol on ice cream at dessert. Lots of rabbis would tell you to make a bori pri ha'etz on fruit that you eat as dessert at the end of a meal. And cake, ooh, that gets kind of complicated because cake is made out of the same substance as bread, basically flour with a lot of sugar on top of it. So the rabbis debate cake very, very hotly when it's eaten as dessert at the end of a meal, whether it needs its own bracha. I really am not big enough to decide this for you. I would like you all to discuss this with your own rabbi and ask him this question. When I eat shehakos like ice cream at the end of a bread meal, should I make a bracha on that dessert, yes or no? There are rabbis who say yes, there are rabbis who say no. Same thing about a fruit dessert at the end of a meal. Ask your rabbi, should I make a bracha on that at the end of the meal, yes or no? Cake, most rabbis are going to probably tell you not to make a bracha on the cake at the end of a meal. But ask about shahakol, ask about things like fruit and fruit cocktails and things like that at the end of a meal. There are rabbis who say yes, it gets its own bracha. There are rabbis who say no, it doesn't get its own bracha. I'd like your rabbi to decide with you on that matter. But for certain, whatever those rabbis will tell you, you will bench at the end of the meal, and the benching will cover the bread meal and also the dessert that was eaten near the end of the meal. I hope that was all clear to you. If it's not, discuss it with your rabbi. We've just begun the discussion. Thanks for logging on. Log on again tomorrow for more. Bye-bye.